themselves, that'd be great. And then we'll fire it from there. But don't want to waste any time today because I think we'll probably run over. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into
picking up, and demand still remains incredibly strong.
I'm going to start it over.
Inventory is ticking up, and demand still remains incredibly strong. That is what we're looking at today and this week's Altos Research Market Report. Every week, Altos tracks every home for sale in the country, all the pricing, all the changes in pricing, the supply and demand, and we make those metrics available to you far before it becomes available in traditional media. It's Monday, June 14th, 2021, and here is this week's data. The median price of single-family homes in the U.S. stayed flat this week at $399,000. The market has passed its peak pricing of the year, so prices will stay under $400,000, ticking maybe down a bit for the rest of the summer. This is normal seasonal behavior, and the leading indicator, the price of the newly listed cohort, bounced up this week to $369,000, staying in the band of this year's summer plateau. This tells us that the market price won't surge from here, but neither is it going to pull back notably. If you've been paying close attention, you may have heard some signs that demand is pulling back just a bit, of demand and supply trying to rebalance in this market. But remember that demand has been so intense that it is still plenty sufficient to keep any floor on prices. And we can clearly see already that the rest of the summer is going to be strong, but not getting wackier from here. Inventory climbed another 3.8% this week to 342,000 single-family homes active unsold on the market. This is now up 11% from the bottom of April 30th. But still 51% fewer than last year at this time. Last year, inventory was falling by a couple percent each week, and this year we're climbing by 1 to 2%, 3% each week. Every bit of extra inventory helps this market, so keep it coming, baby. 2021 is following a much more normal seasonal pattern, and so expect that inventory will peak in mid-August at maybe 380,000 single-family homes. If you tuned into our webinar last week, you'll recall that this inventory level is really a new normal for the real estate market, in that it will take several years of significantly higher mortgage rates and probably vastly improved new construction rates to get us anywhere near the old normal of, say, 1 million homes active on the market. So expect that we're stuck in this new normal, 300,000 to 400,000 homes, for a long time. The recording of that webinar is available on the Altos YouTube channel, so you can watch that in case you missed it last week. Tracking demand through our immediate sales metric, demand stays hot, of course. And even as total inventory inches higher each week, the number of listings that go immediately into contract actually stayed the same as last week, at about 24,000 homes. These are listings that come to market and take offers in hours and days and going into contract essentially immediately after listing. So we had 80,000 or so new listings come to market and then spending at least a week there last week. So here's what this says to us. The demand backed off its absolute peak of the frenzy in May, but is not continuing to slide. So if your house comes to market now and it's priced right, it's going to move super quickly. One other way to look at the supply and demand levels in this market is through the Altos Research Market Action Index. We like the MAI because it presents an at-a-glance relationship between supply and demand. You can pick any zip code in the country and tell you instantly how hot that market is. Any reading here above 30 means supply is sufficiently tight, demand is high. These are seller's market conditions. Seller's market is associated with rising prices in the near future as a leading indicator. Around 30 is a balanced market, and below 30 are buyer's market conditions. You can see that we've been in record territory all year. The notable change this week is that the weekly reading, the dotted line here, dipped below the 90-day rolling average for the first time all year. So this reiterates the signal that the market is not getting hotter from here, but is still very, very hot. Okay, that's all the data we have time for today. If you missed last week's webinar, that video is now available on.
Okay, a couple things here as we wrap up this market update. So demand has maintained its peak plateau. That's one bullet point that he mentioned. And you're going to see some more inventory coming on the market. But what typically happens this time of year? There's more demand. School's just gotten out. People are moving. They can now relocate. Late spring, early summer is here. And so even though there's some more inventory floating around in the marketplace, the demand is still there. And his suggestion is inventory will peak mid-August. And really, that's all I want to talk about in regards to the market update today. I'm sure you guys are seeing crazy things happening in your marketplace, and we can kind of holster that for next week, and we'll see where we go as far as inventory and list price versus sales price and all those other language of real estate topics that we typically are mentioning each week. I want to get back to the basics and follow up on last week at the beginning of this call. So these calls are meant each week, and we've got a fairly good number of people on today, and I appreciate your support. But I just want to reiterate, these calls are about three things and three things only. What is your mindset? What sales skills are you currently working on? And what is your market knowledge? And these should be reoccurring items that hit you each Wednesday as you're on here. Like, what am I really working on in my sales skills? And if you're not working on anything, it's time for you to identify where your weaknesses are, whether that's at a listing appointment or talking on the phone or conversion, whatever it is. And number two, I've heard a lot of people this week when I've asked them what's happening with the market, they're not able to surmise in a deliverable way from an agent, a professional to a client, verbiage and conversation, what is happening with the market. So I want you to have that elevator speech. This is why we talk about these, spend 5 minutes of each call talking about what's happening with the market nationally, locally, California, regionally, Northern California, specifically in the county of Placer, in the city of Roseville, in this neighborhood. It's imperative that you're able to understand all those things collaboratively. Okay, that's one thing. Next, I want to ask you right now, we talked last week a lot about getting back to the basics and the accounts pyramid and the lead trackers and the greatness trackers and the face-to-face appointments. So I want to ask you, how's your lead tracker for this week? How many touches went out to your business world? How many contacts came into your business world? How many nurtures did that create that brought on leads, that brought on appointments? Ask yourself right now, how many appointments with buyers or sellers did I go on last week? Is that enough? And then ultimately, how many contracts were written with listings or buyers? And how did that represent closings? And what was the revenue? How'd the revenue come in? And what was the face-to-face appointments? Did you take the information that I said, just because you don't have anybody to meet with, you've got to create that meeting to get your sales skills aligned with talking to people and understanding their behavior and getting comfortable in running a meeting on a routine basis. So I want to ask you, based on those numbers, touches, contacts, leads, nurtures, appointments, contracts, closings, revenue, how's your schedule looking? Because you have the most unique opportunity that I've seen in my career in real estate to go out there and gain market share right now. Just have to be willing to be to shed freedom for a while and to follow a routine schedule that's predicated on those different characteristics that I'm mentioning. Secondarily, have you plugged in? And I'm asking this because I know a lot of you still out there haven't got your KV core database in alignment, haven't worked on your campaigns, don't have automation to your database, haven't called through your database and connected with them. And if you haven't, damn it, now's the time to do it. It's like everybody wants to talk about real estate right now. It's an easy conversation. So get over yourself, get them in KV Core and call and just say, hey, Eric, man, this is Sean. We haven't talked in 6 months, but I just wanted to check in with you, see how things are going, what's new with the family, how things are opening up in California right now. There's supreme opportunity for investments. There's supreme opportunity for investments out there, for equity build, potential refinance. How can I bring value to them? Stop thinking it's a sales call and it's a value call, right? Okay, so have you plugged in? Speaking in regards to plugging in, yesterday I sent out a message. Brent is actually having a weekly call in regards to lead generation every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It's actually perfect timing because hopefully most of you are time blocking this 11 o'clock, or afternoon to be in the office and to be lead generating and setting the appointments for the next week. So I'm going to share that video with you really very briefly. It's just a couple of minute video here, and it's called Power Up. Okay, Power Up invite. Here you go.
Right here, just want to remind you that every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, we have our Power Up call with Eric Laughlin. He's a world-class sales trainer. I'm paying him a lot of money to do training. It's 30 minutes long. This week is on lead generation. I know none of you need more listings and more high-end buyers, but he's going to be teaching you about lead generation. It's 30 minutes long, and then we have Q&A at the end. Take advantage of this. He's absolutely brilliant. Eric Laughlin, this Wednesday, 1 o'clock Pacific for you East Coast and Central folks. This is with my perfect team, a personal team. This is my gift to you, but don't miss it. Put your calendar right now. You're going to forget about this. Every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, Eric is going to rock it. You should be there. The only little 30-minute vitamins. This is how you grow. This is how you change. This is how you take over the world.
Good music. So if you didn't get the invite, I'm going to share it with you right here. And it's super simple. This is what went out yesterday, but every Wednesday, 1 p.m., go to the powerupcall.com and log in, and many of you leaders share this with who doesn't need more leads, right? So be sharing this with with the people that are in your organization, or hell, invite guests if you'd like. But at any rate, so the powerupcall.com, that's today at 1 p.m. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And then next thing, we're going to talk a little bit about California reopening. So this, thanks Derek for sharing this, and I know Derek sent it out to the people in his squad. So here you go, June 15th reopening, open houses and showings. This should have gone out to all of you. You guys can go into Workplace and check it out. But basically, are there any restrictions for open house? And the answer, the only legal restrictions will be for wearing masks. Otherwise, there will be no restrictions. No physical distancing will be required. No cleaning, no post rules of entry, no posted rules of entry, no PEDs or any other types of sign-ins. No one will have to agree to an office prevention plan. No one will have to attest to their current health status. What will be the rule for wearing masks? It will follow the CDPH guidance for face coverings. According to this guidance, unless everybody is fully vaccinated, people must still wear masks indoors as a practical matter. This means masks need not be worn during a showing if everybody is fully vaccinated, but during an open house, masks will be required because you can't verify whether somebody has been vaccinated or not. So this came from the California Department of Public Health in their announcement made May 21st. And are there capacity limitations for the open house? Only for mega events, unless you're planning on holding an open house more than 5,000 people. If you do, please share with me how the hell you're getting 5,000 people. But I guess it's not crazy in this market. But otherwise, you don't need to concern yourself with capacity limits. What about color-coded county tiers? Those are gone. And what about city and counties? Can they continue to enforce more stringent rules? It's unclear right now. So if you are unclear, check with your local board, please. Obviously, I don't know the answer to that question, as we have so many different people from around America on these calls on a weekly basis. My seller wants to require that everyone entering the property wear a mask or be vaccinated, and ultimately have them write it into the listing agreement. And there's an addendum for that if that's something that that comes to mind. And then there's a couple of other questions and answers here that are probably more specific to each scenario, and door knocking and those types of things. But as far as open houses are concerned, I've been saying this for the past month, basically, as we've known, open houses are going to come back, and it's a great lead generation tool. It should actually be part of your weekly or monthly plan. Hey, this month I'm going to hold X amount of open houses. And that's part of when we go back and we talk about those touches, if you create this 1-3-5, what I call one being, hey, we're going to run an awesome open house. Here are the 3 ways we're going to run an awesome house. And here are the 5 characteristics of that. That's called a 1-3-5. If you created one for your open house and you said, I'm going to door knock, I'm going to send postcards, I'm going to have it catered, I'm going to invite a lender, I'm going to have balloons out there with my marketing, I'm going to have 40 signs out there, I'm going to go to the local businesses and invite them, I'm going to have a twilight tour. All those things are touches, guys. And so when you get an open house, that's the time that you can really grab onto this and put the touches out there. The other thing about it is, for those of you who don't have open houses, we talked about go back and listen to the meeting we did, 3 weeks ago, about the open house. Find out how you can get these open houses, whether they're EXP agents or other brokerages, and what the value proposition for you to holding those open are. So what we're doing on the team here is I'm having Xander and Teresa, she's on the call too, good Teresa, are calling on Monday and Tuesday and saying, hey, what are the 3 or 4 houses that we can potentially hold open at the end of the week, just in case one goes pending or one falls out or whatever it is. We have a backup plan. I don't want you getting to Friday and going, oh, the open house blew. Now I got, blew out. I can't do it anymore. So I'm not going to lead generate for the weekend. Now's your time to be out there in front of people. Okay. It's relationship time. COVID is not over. Yet many of the restrictions are, and we need to take advantage of this to gain market share over this next 12 months. How do you gain market share? You got to watch the numbers every day. You got to watch your numbers. And it's predicated right now. I'll tell you what it's predicated on. Your outbound research, the bullets that you're firing into the marketplace. The lines that if you're not a gun person, the lines that you're throwing into the ocean. Right? How many lines did you throw out today? How many lines are you planning to throw out today? It's got to be 3, 4, 5 a day to net you the amount of fish that you need to take the market share from your next fisherman. It's getting crazy out there. I've heard 3 people this week who have been turned into either the local board or the DRE or something for stupid shit. So I'm telling you this, watch your back, watch what you're doing, but understand at the same time, people are out there to try and derail you. It's called guerrilla warfare. Okay, it's called guerrilla warfare. And I'm just sharing this with you because it's something you need to be knowledgeable about, right? Make sure you're doing the right things, make sure everything is buttoned up, make sure that you're, as far as the way you're acting and what you're saying, and because people are looking right now. Not only because EXP is exploding, but people are hurting out there. And this goes back to what we were talking about last week in those listing appointments, where you go on a listing appointment and 5 people, 5 other agents, and 4% is the second highest commission. It's like, whoa, people are hurting out there. Those people that don't empirically or aren't empirically doing business. Okay. So that's a quick 20 minutes, goes by fast. So anybody have anything that they want to share, talk about, good housekeeping stuff before we move on? Now's your chance. because we're going to be super interactive today for the next part of this call. So take your breaths, and I see each one of you. So if you drop out, I'll find you. Anyway, anybody have anything that they want to talk about that they're seeing? Anything I missed, Derek? Okay. One thing, Hal and I are having our event in Orange County on the 24th. So, right, Hal?
Yep, we're on. We are on.
Okay, cool. So make sure if you're down there, you're inviting people. If you know people outside of Orange County, those agents outside of Orange County, if you know people down there, please invite them to the event. We'd be happy to facilitate them. I'd be happy to meet with them one-on-one if they're there. But we'll have some really great content. And then we're planning another local event in the first part of July, and then an end of July event in the Bay. So I think that's the 27th, Matt, but I don't have it in front of me. But anyway, we'll be sending the flyers out here shortly for marketing purposes. Okay. 29th. Okay, thank you, sir. It's like Darth Vader comes on the 29th. Okay, beautiful. So here we go. Today's topic is about question-based selling. And before we go into the nuts and bolts of it, we're gonna have a conversation around powerful sales questions. Many of you may know Dan Locke. He's a sales trainer, entrepreneur, coach, but I wanna use these 5 questions that Dan is proposing. And what we're gonna talk about today is internalizing these questions for the real estate community. And what I mean by internalizing is this, for some of you who are out there. When I first got into this industry, I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have this fresh approach to real estate. And I really did, but what I missed the beginning part of my career was following models of scripting that gets people to a mutually beneficial decision. And I didn't use scripts. And when I started understanding the concepts of scripts, of questions, of maneuvering a conversation, that's really when my sales career, I think, took flight. And so the reason that we're talking about this today is we take these models of people who are succeeding at a high level, and we internalize them. We make them feel comfortable to us personally based on our behavioral analysis. And that's what we're going to chat about today.
Let's say you are going to have a face-to-face meeting with a prospect, or this is the first time you're having that client meeting. What are some of the things that you could say to make sure that that meeting is successful or goes the way that you want? Today, I'm going to teach you 5 most powerful sales questions ever that you could use in a client meeting. Now,
Okay. Before I'm still letting people in here, so pardon me. But before we go on, I want you to think not only of the face-to-face appointments that you have with buyers or sellers, but who else are we having face-to-face appointments with? We're having face-to-face appointment with referral partners, with past clients, with people from our database. We're having it with corporations. We should be if we're working on our channel accounts. Okay, so just take out just the buyer or seller and manipulate these questions, if you will, or the conversation with each of these people who are going to help your business grow. Specifically, also the whales that we keep talking about each week.
understand this when you are meeting face-to-face with a client. Now, we're not just talking about closing on the phone. When you are sitting down face-to-face, belly-to-belly, toe-to-toe with a client or multiple clients or prospects, knowing that your body language also comes into play. So the way you present yourself, the way that you dress, all that makes a difference. But today, we're going to just focus on the question. Most salespeople, they make this mistake that they let their guards down, meaning that they think, oh, I'm meeting face-to-face with a client. It's already a done deal. No, it's not. Just because you're meeting face-to-face with a client or prospect, it doesn't mean that you've already closed the deal. In fact, if anything, you need to be even more cautious when you're meeting face-to-face. The second thing you need to pay attention to is, what is the outcome that you want, right? Most salespeople, they go into a meeting without a clear outcome, and they think that if they do a good job delivering a lot of data, giving them a lot of information, that naturally they will want to buy it. That's not the case at all. You need to set the tone and set the agenda in the beginning. So at the end, so the closing part or signing the deal, that becomes a very, very natural conclusion of what should happen next. But
Okay, so this doesn't have to be just on the face-to-face appointments. Every time you make a call, an outbound call, whether it's to a prospect, whether it's to a value call, whether it's to a referral partner, you got to ask yourself each time, what is the outcome of this call that I want? Is it a face-to-face appointment? Is it a co-marketing agreement? Is it a referral-based relationship? Is it just to provide value to them? And that's okay too.
be very, very strategic about it. So question number one, and that is this: what motivates you to meet with us today? That's it. What motivates you to meet with us today? Now, why is that question so powerful? Because that question gives you some information, some intel. It tells you what are their motives, right? Why? It's just like, why are we having this meeting today? Instead of asking that way, it's, so what motivates you to have this particular meeting, or what motivates you to have this meeting today? Then the prospect would do 80-90% of the talking. And what you should do is now taking notes, paying attention. What are they saying? And let them talk. Don't interrupt them. Let them talk. Let them talk for 5-10 minutes. Let them talk. And then you pay attention. The second question that you could ask is
there. So some of you who have been in this industry for a long period of time, when you're sitting down with your, if let's just say we're at a listing appointment or an initial buyer consultation, what is it that you say that mirrors or that internalizes that question? This is where you guys are interactive.
What are you looking for in your perfect home or your next home?
Okay, keep going.
Well, and also, why is it that you're looking for what it is that you're looking for?
Okay, keep going. Why?
What's your time frame?
What
brings
be
you to that specific area?
Okay. So have you sat down with anybody ever and said, you know, he said, what motivated you to meet with us today? This is them describing from 30,000 feet why you're meeting today. Why is this? Why are we here? Why are we here together? So one of the things that I empirically say, there's about 3 of them, is, you know, you've taken out time in your schedule, in your valuable schedule, to meet with me today. What's going to make this appointment a 10 for you? And then you listen. And that is basically the same thing as what motivated you to meet with us today. Or thanks for having me, really, thanks for having me out today. I'm curious to know, you know, what's the goal of this appointment for you? And then they say, well, the goal is what? The goal is, I want to find out about your commission structure. I want to find out about how you market. I want you to give me the valuation of the property. And then you're going to what? From those questions, those are really the objections that you have to overcome. They're giving you, if you can phrase or ask the right questions properly and in an internal way that makes everyone comfortable, like I would never say that, pal, what motivated you to meet with me today? But I would find another way to get to that same meat and potatoes, right? So what would be, some of you others who are heavy listing agents, what would be some other initial phrases that you can use to find out from 30,000 feet while you're there today? Anybody? This is why we do this, because these questions are imperative. And I'm talking to like some really good salespeople today here. And if we can add some of these questions to your repertoire, going to a listing appointment, then man, you're miles ahead of your competition, because they're not asking these questions. What are they doing?
Listening.
Maybe they're telling.
Oh.
That's what they're doing. They're going in and they're doing the show and sell because they don't have the sales skills, quite frankly, to extract the information from the client that then can be used to solve a problem, right? So we can also go curious. It's a bit, whatever. It's a beautiful Friday. We're out here today, and obviously, there's some interest in transacting in real estate. So share with me the perfect way that this meeting is going to unfold. Basically, why am I here? Why am I here? What's happening? Okay. So anybody else have anything that they say when they first get there?
Can you hear me, Sean?
Yeah.
So I often will just say, if you wouldn't mind recapping for me what your goals are this year in real estate, what we're wanting to accomplish, and is it okay if I write notes?
Perfect. Love it. If you wouldn't mind recapping what the goals of this meeting are, that would be great. Okay. So that's question one. I'm going to go back here because I got to.
And then you pay attention. The second question that you could ask is this: exactly what are we trying to accomplish today here? That's a very powerful question. See how that is very, very outcome driven. It's very goal oriented. Exactly. I like to use the word exactly. What are we trying to accomplish here today? And boom, again, simple question, open-ended question. Let your prospect talk. Let them talk 80, 90% of the time. And the third question that I like to use all the time.
You guys understand you're in a question funnel when you're at the, and question-based selling actually talks about it. You can't get very specific with your questions right away because you fail to build rapport with the client. Does that make sense? So if you're asking these very general questions up front, hey, what motivated you to meet with us today? And exactly next, what are we trying to accomplish here today? Then you can begin to diagnose the problems that need to be solved in those last few questions. You can ask what's called diagnostic questions. Many of you go in and you start asking diagnostic questions right up front when they're not necessary. Okay. So you got to think about question-based selling again as this funnel of very general, very normal, very almost flavorful, fun questions so that you can get them down to the diagnostic and basically circle back around. Exactly what are we trying to accomplish here today? Great. Well, we're trying to get evaluation of our home. Boom. We're trying to understand your marketing program. Boom. And we're trying to understand this. Okay, great. And then you can turn that around on them and use other questions. So if we're able to accomplish this today, Hal, if we're able to identify these specifics throughout the meeting, I'm not going to jump right in and dive in them yet because I haven't necessarily diagnosed their problem. Would there be a chance that we could do business together today? Or would there be a chance that you're comfortable enough to sign that listing agreement? Would there be a chance that we could have a second meeting? I understand you're interviewing other agents. Would there be a chance that we could have a second meeting for me to come back post you interviewing everybody else?
Especially if I am doing any kind of consulting or brainstorming kind of work, I would have a big whiteboard kind of maybe behind me right here. And then I would ask this question: where are you today and where do you want to be? Now that question is so powerful because it tells me exactly what's the status of the company, right? Where are they what are their frustrations? What are the pain points? And then where do they want to be? Where do they want to be a year from now, 2 years from now? Write their goal. What I want to do is I want to present my product, my service, my solution, my system as the bridge between where they are to where they want to go. You see that's the gap. But my product and my service should be right there, the bridge, the perfect solution to help them to get from here to there. Instead of just you talking about how good your product is, how good your service is, and how long have you been in business, your track record and all that, much better to ask them where you now and where do you want to be. And again, you let them talk. The fourth question.
Okay. So when such that it's almost a story. So, Nancy, let's fast forward. I appreciate you having me out today. Da 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 da. We're here. Let's fast forward this. We've talked about why we're here today. You've told me what you're trying to accomplish, and the third aspect of this, Nancy, is let's say we're able to accomplish your goal of moving out of Orange County and selling the house at $2 million. What's next for you? What does that look like? And why would we want to ask that question? Nancy, I'm not picking on you specifically. I'm just using you because you're one of the people right here in the Zoom call. But why would we want to ask that question?
Because you want to know if they need to buy something.
Okay. That's the very diagnostic point of it, but why else?
And if they want to buy something, if it's somewhere else, if you can refer them, or if it's local, if you can help them buy something.
Because yes, okay. So what you're saying there is it uncovers their motivation, right? We're trying to uncover their motivation to determine how we can what?
Level set expectations and come
How
up
we
with
can solve that
execution
problem.
plan.
You see that is starting to become, this third question is starting to become if you're a doctor, you're starting to uncover what's wrong. They're selling in Orange County because they want X, because they want to move up, because they want to downsize to save more money, because they want to move out of the country, because they want to move out of the state, because they want to move closer to the kids, whatever it is. And that's the motivation that you need to be writing down, because that's really what you can utilize to help close the sale, to help find that win-win position. But in this case, hey, where do you want to be in 60 days if this all pans out accordingly? And then because people pull the trigger based on emotion, it's your job to solve that problem. Hey, listen, before you list, I know this is outside of the box, Nancy, but you know what? Damn it, I'm an outside of the box agent. What if we go and we look at some of those houses an hour away in that $2 million price range that you're talking about moving into? You want to move to Monterey? What if I set you up on, are you willing to go up there for a weekend? And I know a contact up there and they're willing to, they've done it in the past before, but they're willing to meet with you and take you around for the weekend and show you some of those other homes. Because the more comfortable you make them in dragging them or advising them or pushing them or guiding them into where they ultimately want to be, what happens to your sale? Is that providing value? I guess is what I'm saying. Yes, once you provide value in your immediate sale, you become valuable. And because you become valuable, then they'll probably hire you, right? This doesn't just have to be a very linear, I'm going back to the listing appointment. And when I'm talking about these, why am I always going back to the listing appointment? Because we all know the old KW adage, leads, listing, and leverage, but listings are where you need to be right now to have sustainability and what's the other word? Consistency. I'll use consistency in the marketplace. So I'm going back to listings and I'm talking about this. You got to be thinking outside the box when you're having these conversations. But it starts with that very third question, which is right in the middle of the funnel. Where do you want to be? How does this look to you? How does this play out to you? What's comfortable to you? Those types of questions. Where do you want to be?
You could ask is, what seems to be the problem? And how long have you had this problem? Now, that question tells you everything you need to know. What seems to be the problem? Remember, as closer, what we do is we are problem solvers. If it's a good fit, you go for it. If it's not a good fit, it's okay to say no. So it's very, very important to know what are their frustrations, right? What keeps them awake at night? What are those pain points? We need to know. Remember, there's no pain, there is no sale. So what seems to be the problem? And how long have you had this problem? And they might reply, oh, our problem is A, B, C, and D. And we've had that problem for more than 3 years now, and we've tried different vendors, and we couldn't solve the problem. And you're taking notes. Perfect. That tells you how you need to sell and how you need to position your product as the perfect solution. Question number.
Okay, so what would this look like to some of you guys? I wrote a couple things down here, but what might this Number 4 question.
That's really nice of you to offer, Sean. So I don't need to sign this listing agreement for you to set up the viewing in Monterey for me. That's great. But what's really keeping me up at night, or what I'm really worried about, is if I sign this listing agreement to sell in Orange County with you, the market's so crazy. What if we don't find the next property?
That's a very valid concern. And then I would go in and I would talk about the way that an offer can be accepted contingent upon a replacement property at that time. And what we're driving here is Mansoor, I'm here today as really a guidance for you in the real estate world. And I'm curious, based on your past experiences in real estate, you've sold a couple of houses before, I noticed on the tax record. So I know you've been through this process before. Share with me, what were the problems? What were the frustrations? What were the pain points? What were the concerns on those past listings? And with those agents, and what do your current concerns look like? Do you see how we're funneling them in here, guys? Just like it's so important, and I keep talking about it each week and driving it into you guys, that the sales cycle, some of you guys are missing that 4 layers of conversation of creating curiosity and then providing credibility and then finding the solution and then solving the problem. Some of you just go from A to B or A to D, and you just go, oh my God, somebody wants to look at a house, I'm going to take them right out there. You've really negated your value to them because now you're just a door popper. So just like in that sales cycle capacity that we talk about, it's the same with this question-based selling. And I could go through, and I'm going to go through and share with you some of the topics of the book here. But I think these real life applications are much more powerful because many of you don't have 3 hours to read this QBS book. And so these are real world applicable items. And so when I'm sitting down with Mansoor and I'm saying, hey, Mansoor, thanks for having me out here today to meet with you. What's going to make this appointment a 10 for you as we walk away today, in an hour? Think about the power of that question. It sets the tone for, we're here to make a decision. We're here to solve a problem. We're here for an hour because I don't want to spend an hour more along with you. I know empirically, based on NAR's research, the longer you spend at a listing appointment, the less chances you have of getting it. So you need to get in there and solve the problem and get out. And next, I'm going to go, okay, well, outside of this great goal of understanding while I'm here, what are the specifics of what are we going to try and accomplish? If we accomplish that goal, this is question 3. If we accomplish that goal, what does that look like for you on the flip end? And what are your concerns in what we've talked about so far? What are your concerns, problems, frustrations? What have you seen in the past? It's like when you go to a dentist, what's the first thing they ask you? Many of you need to go to the dentist.
Does anything hurt or bother you?
Boom. Why do they ask you that, Nancy?
So they know what to look for.
They know what to look for, and they know where to be sensitive around. Right? So, oh man, last time, and then they're going to tell you what the problems are again that you need to overcome, and the objections that you need to overcome. Oh man, last time I was in Lincoln, Rich Donnell underpriced my home. Just kidding, Rich. Love you, buddy. Okay, so then I'm going to spend more time on the valuation method and how I came up with that valuation. Or, hey, I felt like I paid too much commission, or the house wasn't on the market very long, or the rent back really went terrible, and there was no deposit there. And when I moved out, X, Y, and Z happened. In each one of these questions, you guys, here's what you're doing. And you need to understand, I'm going to slow down for a minute so that you can get this. You are trying to make them feel emotionally secure. Because when you can talk to them and they're emotionally secure and you've solved their problems and you've taken them to a different place versus where they are now mentally, then the trust barrier, the bricks get blown out of the trust barrier. Okay, they get to a place where they trust you. So anyway, wrapping up question 4 is share with me, and that's another one you can use. Share with me in your past experiences with selling a property, with dealing with real estate in general, what those issues were, man. Or you could go back and you could preemptively have these conversations without asking the question. If you know information about them from the past, maybe they've shared with you what happened to them in the recession. Man, I feel like I overbought. Okay, now I'm going to have a conversation with them around what? I'm going to have to talk to them about the difference in lending and A paper versus C paper, and how, mortgage-backed securities might work. I don't know, those are conversations based on education that you can have with them to make them feel more comfortable based on what they're telling you. All right, let's keep going.
The perfect solution. Question number 5, and this is my favorite of them all, and that is this. If this meeting accomplished everything you could possibly hope for, what would that look like? See, this question paints a picture in the prospect's mind. Yeah, what would that look like? And they will give you the criteria. How do you make sure that this is a successful meeting? And they'll tell you, well, I would love to walk away with a step-by-step plan. Okay, what else? Well, I would love to have maybe 2 or 3 concrete strategies that will help me solve this kind of problem. All right, okay. And I would like to know exactly how you would help us and help our company in the long term. Okay, no problem. I could do that. Simple questions. See, all these simple but powerful questions are designed for one thing and one thing only. And that's to have a deep understanding of what your prospect is looking for during that meeting. So next time, when you're in a face-to-face meeting, your first prospect meeting, test them out. These 5 powerful questions, and comment below and let me know how that works for you. If this is the first time you're watching my video, welcome to my channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe.
Stop share before we go into the slide deck. I know we only have 10 minutes here, but the 5th question was, if this meeting accomplished everything that you had envisioned, share with me the characteristics of what that might look like. One of the ones that I use all the time is typically, Angela, when I sit down with sellers like yourself, and I've sat down with 5 of them over the past 2 weeks, they empirically want to know about 6 different factors of the home sale. Would you mind if I shared those with you? Yeah, and then I go into those: access and price and market timing and location and condition and the agent that they select. And then I can pick that up and say, Angela, besides those 6 factors that, typically a normal or a typical seller asks or inquires about, what else is it that you're thinking about right now? What are the other things that you might be thinking about that may be troubling you, that would potentially impede us on getting to your end goal of moving to Monterey in 3 months? You see, these are all questions. When you're at a listing appointment, the more statements you make, the more tells, right? The more tells, if you will. Let me tell you something. The less likely you are going to be able to walk away with a signed listing agreement. So you have to get great. And I don't tell people have to a lot, but you have to get great at asking the right questions in the right order. Through using a QBS system like this, you can ask the same questions. If you're doing it incorrectly, categorized because you're not organized, then you're going to inhibit your ability to get these listings. So anybody using a similar format in their presentations? Anybody? Well, anybody using any of these types of questions in their consultations or Zoom calls or presentation? I mean,
Yes.
Okay, who said that? Nancy.
Me.
Who?
Angela.
Angela, great. Okay. You want to share for 30 seconds?
No.
Okay. Wonderful. So at any rate, what this shares with me is that most of us, and I see it all the time, most of us are just going in there and we've got our marketing presentation booklet and we've got our sexy, items and our service brochures and all this bullshit. that doesn't really dive into the emotional aspect or the emotional part of the seller. I'll share with you new agents. You get good at this, you don't need these. These types of materials, and I used to hear it all the time when I was a managing broker. Oh my God, I need that listing binder. I need that listing thing. Guess what? Most listing agents who are going into listing, seasoned agents, not even, they're taking a marketing binder and that's about it, because it's all about these conversations that you're having and solving the problem. And you're just assuming, you have to assume in today's market that you've already given them these things by the time you get to the meeting. I don't want to, when I get to a meeting, I don't want to have a conversation about my professional photographer in Joan Video. Everybody's doing that. That's not my value proposition. Understand? My value proposition is maneuvering through these questions, getting them to where they want, making them feel emotionally connected, dividing the relationship with them, and the things that have obviously happened before I've gotten there to provide a customer service level to them. Okay, now really quickly here, because I know we only have 7 minutes left, and I'm glad we went through those 5 questions because I think they get to the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to accomplish here. But here is this. I'll go back and share. So about, I want to say 6 months ago, I went through and I basically got the crib notes from the book Question-Based Selling, which looks very much like this. And if you don't have it, my suggestion is you either get it on audiobook or you go and read it, because it's great. And then the back of it has a small scripting of which you can use. But question-based selling is the new line of selling in the sales world. This is what everybody is doing. So we've got to adapt to the time. I'm just going to burn through these here very, very quickly because there's some specifics here. So basically, the QBS strategies operate around 5 different topics: and ask more questions, make fewer statements. Credibility reduces the prospect's need to resist. So curiosity, credibility. Curiosity neutralizes the mismatching reflex. You can, and then they talk about reversing the positive, which is basically what happens if you choose the wrong decision, and momentum helps reduce the mismatching instinct. So these are the 5 things that the book talks about. I'm going to move forward here. Sorry, because it's a lot of info here. And okay, this is, and you've heard about me talking about it a lot. And the reason I did do, because hopefully at some point that light bulb goes off and you go, okay, I get it. This is the sales cycle that Sean's been talking about. If you haven't created curiosity from any standpoint in your prospect, you're missing out on that first level of sales, of the sales cycle. Next is your credibility and expanding the relationship. And so think about this, guys, in what I've just talked about, in touches, in contacts, in nurtures, in appointments, in contracts and closings, and then in commitment and revenue. This walks you through that sales cycle. If I'm not sending out touches into the world that create curiosity, meaning postcards and emails and phone calls and social media posts and all these other things, if I'm not creating curiosity, what happens? Nobody contacts me. I hate it because you see all these people go, oh, here's the market updates. Here's the market updates. Here's the market updates. There's no call to action. How is that creating curiosity? You have to tell the prospect why there's a question of what they need to know to call you. Okay. So then how do we create, then it expands. The contact we've sent our touches out. They've reached back out. And now it's our job to create the credibility. How do we create credibility? Through this nurture, what we call nurture in today's world. Okay. They call in and we walk them through many of these questions on the phone in a different conversation. Like you can adapt these questions that we've just talked about. What motivated you to call me today? Great. What would you like to find out at the end of this phone call? Wonderful. Do you see how you can adapt these questions through each one of these sales cycles? Okay, you have to do this, guys. Your conversion will go up just in a crazy way because you're not throwing up on them. Think about how you feel when you get a phone call and somebody just jibber jabs like I'm doing to you today. How does it make you feel? It makes you feel like I'm throwing up all over you, right? Anyway, I'm joking about that. You're supposed to laugh larger. Anyway, we take these, and then the third, well, what would it look like if we could take you to that? Or what would it look like, Angela, if I could, if we could get you pre-approved for X amount of dollars? Same thing. And have you bought a house before? No. Okay, great. Well, what do you think the pitfalls of buying a house might be? These are expanding the relationships and creating credibility. We can create credibility through the conversations that we're having. Okay, if I'm an experienced agent, I'm going to go, okay, great, credibility. Let's see how could I create credibility around that initial phone conversation? Hey, have you heard of I know you're a veteran. Have you heard of a VA loan? Have you heard of the benefits? Have you heard of FHA? How about first-time home buyer program? How about a recast for a jumbo loan at Chase? How about an interest rate buy down? How about mortgage insurance? Through that conversation, what I've just expressed to you is I have a pretty damn thorough knowledge of what's happening in the lending world, haven't I? Just in that conversation. So the way that you speak to them in this credibility phase and your knowledge will help to expand the relationship and create nurture. Next, once that happens, they're ready to meet with you. Now we start sitting down with them and we actually go through this needs development. We could use many of the questions that Dan just brought up. And we say, okay, here's the 5 questions of what it's going to take to get you to sign the listing agreement. And now once we sign the listing agreement, here's how we're going to execute on number 3. Where do you want to be? And we're going to present those solutions. And ultimately we get the commitment from them and and they're ready to move and close and we seal the deal. So this sales cycle, I want you to visually think about this sales cycle that you're using, and there's many of them, and this is just the newest one, I think, the newest fad, but the sales cycle relates in parallel to your lead generation cycle and maneuvering them through each one of those phases from the point that they initially call you to the point that they close, from the initial point of curiosity to the point of commitment and closing. There's a parallel relationship there. And that's the importance of understanding all of these diagnostics, and there's 54 freaking slides in here, of what type of closings you can use and scripts and all this. And I'm going to email this out again to you guys so you can go through it and literally can burn through these slides in about a half an hour if you don't have time to read the full book. Okay. All right. Boom. Okay. Samantha, I wish I could join the OC lunch, but we'll be out of state. I should have known. Okay, great. Please in the OC info. Okay, answer. All right, it's 12 o'clock. We've got a lot of information. I'd be interested in hearing any ahas before we pull chocks today. I'm going to turn up my volume as everybody leaves. One aha.
I love the fact is that what seems to be the problem is because generally you don't want to be negative, but in this case, you do want to find out what the problem is, what they're looking for, what happened last time, what can we do different this time?
Yes. Where'd you have that root canal last time so I can drill around it? Really, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate you. Okay, well.
Thank you, as always.
Guys,
Appreciate it.
We'll send out the link and then we'll also send out the slides. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. See you guys
Bye.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
later. So, did you stick around? Okay. Cool. We're ending.